Right, today we're talking about forming equations. So they'll give us a worded problem, and then we will change the worded problem into algebra, and then we will solve it. Well, we've got some tips, some tricks here. The idea is when you have something like decreased by, this means minus, subtract. If they say more than, 5 more than that, you will add. If they say double it, it means times by 2, multiply by 2. If they say triple it, it would be times by 3, etc. If they say halve it, it means divide by 2. So let's have a look at this. How would we translate this problem? When a number is added to 6, the result is 15. How would we write this down using algebra? Well, the idea is the following. When they say when a number, this number here, we don't really know the number, so we have to come up with a letter. So we'll use a letter. Usually we use X, it's convenient. So when a number is added to 6, well, added means plus. And then the result is 15. So in maths, that would be equal to. So basically what we've said here is this, X plus 6 is equal to 15. Or if you like, I'm going to write it down clearly here next to the sentence. It is X plus 6 is 15. So at this stage, we're not really interested in solving this. We're just interested in translating it into an equation. We will be using this obviously to solve the equation further down the line, but for now we're just interested in translating this into maths, and that will be the translation. Let me just change colors for the next one. Twice a certain number. So twice a certain number, we don't really know the number. Twice a certain number basically means 2 times a number which we don't know. So we'll use 2x here, or 2 times x, but we don't tend to write the times there, it's invisible. So twice a certain number is 2x. And then is 7 more than the number. So more than means plus. And the number is x. And is means equal. So now if we rewrite this whole thing together, we'll have 2x, which means twice the number. Is means equal to. 7 more than the number means x plus 7, which is 7 more than x. Another way would be to say the same thing as 2x is equal to 7 plus x. Both are equivalent, both are equally fine. So you see what I'm doing? I'm taking each sentence and I'm translating it into algebra. And using this is exactly what they want us to do. They just want us to rewrite that as an algebraic equation. Right, let's move on to another example. The sum of 2 consecutive even integers is 34. So the sum of 2 consecutive even integers is 34. Now, here we get this word, sum. Sum, let's remember that it means plus. 2 consecutive even integers. Okay, bear with me now. We've got this notion of even numbers. Let me just write up here. An even number is always 2 times another number. So 2 times x, for example. Yeah, because it's 2 times something. Like if you think about 10, it's 2 times 5. If you think about 100, it's 2 times 50. If you think about 6, it's 2 times 3. So an even number is always 2 times something. An odd number, if we do encounter that, the way to write it down, it would be 2x plus 1. So it's always an even number plus 1. Or another way to write it down would be 2x minus 1. Both would be equivalent. So an odd number is always just 1 away from an even number. That's how we see. This is something we need to know by heart, basically, guys. So try to memorize this and use it whenever it comes up. But now we've got this business of 2 consecutive even integers. So what does consecutive mean? Consecutive means one after the other. So for example, when they say 2 consecutive integers, even integers, it means, for example, 2, 4, or for example, let's do 16 and 18. So notice that when you have 2 consecutive even numbers, the difference between them is 2. So if we add 2 to an even number, we get the next consecutive even number. If you add 2 to this, you get the next consecutive even number. So if we have an even integer, which is 2x, like we said before, any even number can be written as 2x. What would be the next one after this number? So what did we say previously? To go from an even number to the next one, we add 2. So if this is one even integer, then the next one is going to be 2x plus 2. This is what consecutive even integers means. One of them is going to be 2x. Next one is going to be 2x plus 2. Now, when they say is, that means equal. And obviously 34 is as stays as 34. So now let's go ahead and translate all of this. So what did they say? They said the sum of what? Of these two numbers here. So what they've said here is that 2x, which is one of the numbers, plus 2x plus 2, which is the other number, we got the plus from the sum of these two numbers here, which are consecutive even numbers, is equal to 34. And this would be the way to form an equation out of this problem. So this would be considered a slightly more tricky example than before. Right. Yes, so you will see that here the textbook hasn't used exactly the same representation. Here they said let x be an even integer. I do not like this at all, so I will actually cross this out, because at some point it will be very, very important to use 2x for an even number. So let's try to start using it from now, and to avoid this thing on the left, which is I would call something like the baby version of solving this problem. This basically, the textbook considers that this is probably going to be too tricky for you to remember that an even number is 2x and an odd number is 2x plus 1. But then I want you to memorize this. Please, any even number is always 2 times something, and use this notation. Right, let's move on to another example here. Example 3. So we've got apples cost 13 cents each, oranges cost 11 cents each. So basically, if we do not know the number of apples and the number of oranges, there will be some kind of letter we use here. It's going to be X. But let's just carry on and see exactly what they're saying. If I buy 5 more apples than oranges, right? Just as soon as I read this, I thought 5 more than oranges. Right, so what are they saying here? Oranges, do we know how many oranges we got? No. So oranges will basically be X, because we do not know how many of them we bought. And now 5 more apples would basically be 5 more than the oranges. So 5 more means plus 5. So if oranges is X, then apples is X plus 5. So now we know what apples means, or how many apples we got and how many oranges we got. Now, the total cost of the apples and oranges is this. Write an equation involving the total cost. Okay, so now this is just slightly more complicated, because we need to go back. We need to go to the previous sentence we haven't used yet. So apples cost 13 cents each. Oranges cost 11 cents each. So how much did we spend here? Well, 13 cents each is the apples. So effectively, we have to do 13 cents times how many apples we have. So how many apples did we buy? Well, we bought X plus 5. So this would be the cost of the apples, because X plus 5 is the number of the apples. We don't know the number, so we just do 13, which is how much each of them cost, times how many apples we have. Then we move on to oranges. Oranges cost 11 cents each. So that means that we'll have to do 11 cents times however many oranges we got. But that would be X. So this would be 11X. So now putting everything together, they said that these two together, all of the costs together, it gives a total of $2.33. So how do we put these two together? Well, let's just put it this way. Right here, it would be 13 times the X plus 5. And then if you add the cost of oranges, which would be 11X, then this total cost would be £2.33. So if we write down the final answer here, it would be exactly this, and I'll put it in a little box. Obviously, the textbook has done it for you as well, but you'll see it has just use this table, which perhaps doesn't give you exactly the method of how they came up with this. So I showed you here basically that you need to read each bit of the sentence to start translating each bit into algebra when possible, and that's generally how we do that. If you like a table, if you want to use a table, feel free. I have never used a table to do this sort of thing. I don't find it particularly convenient, but this is certainly one way you could do it if you want to do it. I just tend to annotate on the sentence, and then it saves a bit of time as well. Let me just stop the recording and give everyone time to ask me questions and help you with whatever you've got to